Right on.
Hey, there we go.
Perfect.
How you doing, man?
Doing all right. Under construction here at our house. We're getting the house painted, and so it's been pretty interesting for 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. Just having people in your house all the time. It's always fun.
Yeah, it's like drywall dust and paint smells, and like the next is the floor repairs, and can't wait.
Nice. Well, we've got a few people on here. Just wanted to come on a bit early and see if everything works, which it seems like it does.
Yeah.
So good. And we've got some awesome, albeit a lot of questions, which is good.
Yeah.
So I think, we can just blast through the talking points and then, go through.
Yeah, I made it really simple, but I followed your outline.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that will be helpful.
Okay.
And I have a few things just to say about, I guess, me, and then about barrels of investment. And then, we'll just talk back and forth on that, and we'll cover those things off and get into the current state and what opportunities are. And I think then we can leave the questions. Like, we can get through this probably 20, 25 minutes. I won't go long.
Yeah. I think 25 minutes and then another 10, 15 minutes of questions. I reckon we can get through it. I was just going, I guess all the questions are kind of just like growth and exits and ages, and I'll tackle a lot of these anyway that are kind of Barrel Global focused, and then you can take a few.
Yeah, no, I think those are definitely going to be more along your level of expertise in this. And so one of the things I do say in this is, hey, we've we participated in this and sold barrels to like individuals and to restaurants and bars, and even large and small whiskey players for their brands for blending. And then, but that, the emergence of yourself and Barrel Global has allowed us to access folks looking to participate mostly in investments too, which is another whole level.
Yeah. I mean, I think, there's a lot of people just asking about what's the best time to hold and stuff like that. Like, we tend to tell our clients anyway. I think it'll be nice to give everybody a nice kind of overview and like a different angle and kind of what we can look forward to this year. I'm pretty excited about this year. I think it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, we're gonna get through all the turmoil where no one knows what's going on. Then they all know what's going on now. They're laying off everybody and closing operations, and that will help correct any real oversupply, if there really is. You have the Russian-Ukraine war end, and this thing's going to turn quick.
They'll be getting a lot of bourbon into Russia when that's done.
Yeah, they've been short for 3 years, and those are like millions of cases kind of markets.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, these people, they're writing these articles, but they're not taking like these factors into play. No,
their job is to tell you something's changed and it's bad, and that's all and it's already known it's bad for 2 years now. So it's nothing new, but it becomes new to them. And we'll probably got more and more of these, probably maybe another 3 months of these kind of articles. And who cares though? Like, from Wall Street perspective, once people are writing about it, it's all over anyways. We're on to the next thing. We're on to the recovery, if you will, for cyclical businesses. But
I had a good call yesterday with Chris Perugini. He's like a Forbes writer, single malt. I think he's like Single Malt Daily. Just saying the same. He might write an article about like just taking the other perspective, because I mean, again, this is just someone wrote something and then someone piggybacked on it. He's got all the data, he follows all the industry, he's like an insider of the industry and can see how things are going, as opposed to just taking a peek from the outside and immediately saying it's bad. But
because Scotch has got to come back too. The price thing is definitely a problem here. The amount of price that people took. I'm not as concerned about tariffs, because I don't think it's a way to go about modern business. But hey, they were used before. They're a hammer for sure, but I think they're only a hammer for short-term use to get people's attention. So
Yeah, we can get more into it, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see like the real, like strong business model, cool brands, like the ones that just came in for a quick profit, kind of falling away, and the people that are like actually in it, have a good business model, are doing cool, fun things, and breaking the mold. I'm excited. I think the next few years are going to be awesome. Like to see some amazing brands, like independent bottlers, distilleries, cask sellers, like that, just really emerge. And as the kind of the bad eggs melt away and the quick money people melt away, you're left with the good stuff.
Yeah, like remember, like I'm gonna say it in this stuff. Like before everyone cared about it, and it was frenetic. This market existed, and it's going to exist after the frenetic thing. In fact, it's always better when there's more calm heads involved in it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Right, I guess we've got 5 minutes to start here. Pretty sure we're already jumping into everything, so I think we better. right, we're done.
Yeah, we already talked about this, folks. Like,
we're not repeating ourselves. Now, I think good amount of people. I think we had like quite a few. I think it was like 60 in the end, which is probably the most we've ever had in a webinar. At least. So yeah, I think give it a few minutes. Probably start around like 35 past. Yeah.
How do you like living in Mexico City?
I love living in Mexico City. It's fun. It's like, I don't know. It's well developed and convenient, and there's like, again, the food's awesome. There's an awesome growing bar scene, which is awesome. Like there's Handshake, that was like voted the best bar in the world on the World 50 Best, and there's tons of, and I think that's kind of spurred like people from the team are going away and opening cocktail bars. Wow. So now I'm enjoying it, and it's just all that stuff about safety and all that's just again, just someone had a bad experience, and all of a sudden you come here and you're gonna die. It's like I've been here for 2 years. I go out at night. I'm careful, obviously, but it's not any different to any like London or any other mega city. But I'm enjoying it, man. It's like I like while it is a massive city, it's also like chill. It's like Latino time. It's kind of like laid back. And the traffic is a bit mental, but I think it's I don't know. Mexicans know how to have fun. They know how to drink, and they know how to have a good time. And yeah, I've enjoyed it. I do need to explore more of Mexico. I feel I've been like, whenever I leave, I come to the US and I travel for work. So I want to do more of the beaches, do a bit of like Oaxaca, Los Cabos, playa and all that stuff. But nah, man, it's cool. I'm in it for another good few years still.
Have you ever read God's Middle Finger?
No.
It's a good book. It's about the San Madre Mountains and their history and like Mexico's history through that. It's written by a travel writer, a British travel writer, actually.
I think,
but it's a great book.
Into the law
of it.
Yeah,
it's called God's Middle Finger. It's a good book.
Oh yeah, well, look at that. But no, have you been to Mexico City?
I have.
Yeah,
I've gone with Vitro, who used to make our bottles, a couple times, and my favorite story about it is I'm not a very dressy up kind of guy. Once I left Wall Street, and so what I wore wasn't significantly good enough for my host, and he made me go buy clothes.
Nice. Wow.
He said, you can't go in there. People aren't going to respect you. I'm like, I don't really care. I'm writing the check here. He's like, no, you can't. You have to dress up here. This is what Mexico City is not. Some backwater. It's very important. I'm like, and people will treat you differently. I'm like, all right. So I had to go spend like $400 on clothes. No t-shirts allowed.
Yeah, they do dress up here. They're all like very still suit and tie.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's been fun. It's been fun living here. Like the transition between here, like in our tequila stuff, and going back to the US is always fun. Getting like the best of two worlds.
Yeah.
All right, 28 people in here. Give it a few more minutes for people running late. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how bourbon comes into Latin America. I know that Asia used to be like, when I was living in Asia, it used to be like the big one, and now China's kind of, that's another big reason everybody's freaking out, because China's not buying as much anymore. But I think from all the big brands that I've spoken to, everybody's very like got their eyes on Latin America, you know, like Mexico, Colombia, Chile drinks a lot of whiskey, Argentina. So I'm quite excited to see kind of a movement into this region and what people are doing. Because, I mean, you know, the peso's strong, money's here, they drink like fish. I think if they lower the taxes a little bit here, it's a bit high, like for imports, 51%. But I reckon bourbon, Scotch is already decent here. But I think
it does well there, right?
The Latin America for like, you know, bourbon, because I mean, yeah, if they can bring those taxes down slightly and kind of get it to a closer price to tequila and mezcal, I reckon Latin America could be pretty big.
I think that they'll culturally too, they're going to like the more premium stuff rather than, you know, not old number 7 Jack Daniels and stuff. I'd heard this from Beam and other folks trying to break into India. It's like, you know, Jim Beam doesn't have a good name there. But you know, Knob Creek does. Like, so like the consumers see the brands differently than we see them. And I think though, you know, this whole idea of brands are a reflection of you and, you know, are part of how you elevate yourself and differentiate yourself definitely works in Latin America.
Yeah. I think they are more of a like, still like a showy off culture.
Yeah.
You got the bottle of Macallan or, you know, reserve table. They're still very much, you know, like going out and showing you go out and you go out good. So yeah, I think for premium expressions here, I know some brands that want to give it a go here. And yeah, I'm definitely excited to see because there is the appetite here, and it's just like still an untouched market for bourbon for sure.
Yeah.
Right. I guess we have 28 people. You know, good amount to start off with, to be honest. And we can get going. Right. Awesome. Let's officially get started. You can see the presentation here, I reckon. Everybody can hear us. Yes, I just got a thumbs up. Everybody can hear us. So let's go from Wall Street to whiskey. Wait, did someone just ask somebody? No, we're good. Right, from Wall Street to whiskey. I'm not going to obviously sit here and talk about myself, but I'm George Koutsakis. I'm the founder of Barrel Global and the CEO, whoever doesn't know me from our database and has dealt with our awesome sales team instead. I own a lot of different brands. I started Barrel Global a few years ago. Loving the journey so far, loving what we're doing. Get to work with super cool people like Alan and a lot of other fun distilleries, fun people. I have a few other brands. I've got a blended whiskey brand, the Formula One champion, which is fun. We're doing some cool stuff in F1. Got a marketing and branding company that does all the fun stuff that you do see in Barrel Global, the content, all that stuff. I've got a comic book whiskey, which is my baby, and I love it. And we're going to launch a few new releases in like a week, actually, some single barrel bourbons for everybody who's on this call. If you want to read some comic books and drink some whiskey, best of both worlds. So that's exciting. And that's a part of Barrel Global as well. And yeah, I write for Forbes. I've been a lot in the writing side, the media side, now kind of like the business owner side. So, yeah, I've touched on a lot of different parts of the industry to kind of place me where I am now. Yeah, and Alan is awesome. Alan owns the Laws Whiskey House in Colorado, like my favorite distillery in Colorado. They do tons of awesome stuff, tons of like cool wood finishes, cool mash bills. Their 4 grain is one like best bourbon in the whole world, I think, in the world's World Whiskies Awards. Multiple awards, and that was like a big boom last year when you guys got that, because that's like a massive award to get. They have a partnership with the Buffaloes as well in Colorado, so they've made some limited editions with them. Like all the teams. But Alan comes actually from a finance background in Wall Street that we're going to dive into, and you can tell us a little bit more about that, Alan. Yeah, just want to say Laws Whiskey House, awesome. I tried there last year. You got me a bottle of your honey cask that sells out immediately. That was just, oh man, me and the guy we've got on the team, Juan, we like polished that in a night. It was just fantastic. Like I think he's on here. That was just such a good bottle of whiskey, that honey cask. But yeah, if you want to, Alan, you want to tell us a little bit about your background, a little bit about how you came around like, to starting Laws, and then we can dive into the agenda.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. First of all, I'm Al Laws. As George said, like I worked on Wall Street and Bay Street. I grew up in Canada, so I worked in both sides of the border here in north of North America for like 15 years. And I've come from the oil and gas side. It's one of my favorite industries in the world. Whether you like that or not, it's too bad. It's a great place. It's a great place to learn and to see something happen that's on a global basis. It gets affected every day. I have been a whiskey, I'm going to call it acolyte, for decades. So I drank it early in my early years, like as early as 16. Remember, Canada is a lot more liberal than this the United States of America, and I've collected it in a retail way. Had up to 700 bottles of different whiskey in my house, and I drank it all, especially during COVID. And eventually, the obsession brought me to the wholesale or supplier side of the business via opening what I would say is integrated. I don't really like the term craft distillery, I like independent better, but that's what we are. And Laws Whiskey House makes the whiskey that we sell. We're not a non-distillery producer. We actually make it. So from dirt out in the hinterlands of Colorado, are grains that are grown that are brought in and dried and malted, and we make it. So while we still focus on building brand like a non-distillery producer, we also focus on making the highest quality whiskey we can and continue to make it better and better. We always say the stuff that's coming off the still today is the best whiskey we already made. Clearly, we have more of a, call it, extended timeline or horizon than most folks. We thought really when we started this, really 20 years. So most folks will tell you that in the craft side, oh, in 5 years, you want to be here. I'm like, we started, and we're like, it's going to take 20 years. We didn't sell a drop of whiskey for 3.5 years. And we are now on year 14. So that's kind of me. Quick summary of that. And it's better to go on to whiskey barrels as an investment. Let's tee it up, George. I think you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, talking about really interesting stuff. So basically, a bit about the agenda. We're going to go through a bit about what happened last year, what's happening this year. We're going to just look at the economics of aging whiskey barrels, but just the overall whiskey industry, the future, what we see happening, and what we think is the best kind of approach to looking at the whiskey industry, and also just touch on why we think that now is the best time to buy. Like we kind of discussed that briefly when we were planning this, Alan, but why, I suppose, you don't go in when everybody's in and the price is sky high. You go in when, it's the time to buy and wait and see how it's going to go. But we'll talk more about that. And then we have a pretty thorough thank you, everybody, for sending through your questions. Those are great. There's tons of them. I just got some whiskey because I realize this is our comic book label that we're going to launch soon. But yeah, I figured we should probably have some whiskey. And yeah, tons of good questions that we're going to go through, which I'm excited about, and we'll have a lot of time, and we won't leave any of you guys out. So let's delve in.
So let me start with this. Whiskey barrels as an investment, to me, I did a lot of research before I started this company, like 5 years of research. I'm a research analyst from Wall Street, go figure. So we did everything before we invested $1 in it and wrote our business plan and everything else. But whiskey barrels have been an alternative asset class for like quite a long time, from my research, from way back, from now 25 years ago. And it's been around. Internationally, it's probably been more popular for Scotch and even rum and some other spirits. At least that's to my knowledge. I think it moved into American whiskey a number of years back when the boom in interest in bourbon and rye left folks, the bigger companies, a little short in aged inventory, which opened up opportunities to add to the inventory undersupply, which, it's a great time, and opportunities to invest began to explode. The frenetic part of that, I think, is finally past, but that doesn't mean the opportunities don't exist. They do. I think the value of whiskey in a barrel goes up over time with the maturation process. And it has a number of like off ramps directly correlated to time. But I also like to include this because, I can be very Wall Streety and like, oh, this correlation to this, but also the quality does matter. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we kind of get into it. But I'd also like to use this analogy to start us off because I come from oil and gas. And so using another industry, oil companies' primary value is what? It's resources in the ground, right? It's production, but it all comes from that. It's reserves. So just like a barrel inventory is a large component of our value, oil and gas reserves are typically classified on a 3P system: possible, probable, and then proven, right? So possible means you drill the well, you have all the, the seismic and everything, you have an image of what you're drilling into, and hey, it has oil. That's possible. It's only worth a certain amount at that point. In fact, if you're going to sell that play, it wouldn't be worth as much. You drill 5, 10 more wells, now you get probable. And now you're like, hey, we've proven this out. It's now in whiskey terms, 2-3 years old.
Yeah.
And then proven, once it goes over, 4. In America, like 2 is straight whiskey, which is a good standard to start with. Then over 4, now you're starting to talk about something that's proven. The value of those barrels, or in gas terms, the MCF of gas, change within the 3 categories, and it goes up and to the right, right?
Yeah.
Pretty simple. And whiskey's the same thing. So, a new make barrel is possible, and it starts its journey to higher value year after year after year. Straight whiskey, again, is important. We call that the kickoff point. It needs to get to 2 years, in my opinion. The next jump is 4, continuing relatively steady until like 10. We can get to like the higher, but like that's just harder and harder to do is get it above 10, especially if you're in Colorado, where we're in the front range of the mountains and that kind of thing. But it's my personal observations, I guess. It's we're using new barrels for American whiskey, for bourbon, and for rye. It's our primary stuff. So it's a lot different than Scotch in terms of what gets infused. So each barrel of whiskey, its type, its mash bill, has its own kind of supply and demand thing that's more micro than what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But each age point still matters, and there's swings around those different areas each year. Right?
Yeah. And I want to, just touch on here a little bit. Like, I mean, that was a great analogy. It makes a lot of sense. And I think, I guess like touching on more like what we do, I think the whole approach of looking at the bourbon industry as a whole right now, like it's bourbon. So they're putting like $40, $20 bourbon to like $200 bourbon in one kind of box. But looking more at what we do at Barrel Global, like focusing on small distilleries that are doing quality first, everything, quality first, fully focused on developing their brand. What you guys have done with the awards that you've won and the Buffalo's partnership, this is just all brand value adding to the company. And it's kind of, again, what I said before when we were talking is that, I think that's a good parallel. And it's something that we're seeing in whiskey is that as we see kind of a lot of these players, like the same probably in the finance world, that come in quick, try to make a quick buck, quickly peel away or melt away, but then you're left with the ones that are really putting the work in, and their products are continuing to grow in value because a lot of them are just, being cast aside in a way.
Yeah, if you talk about portfolios in this, and if that's what the investor in the barrels wants to build, I think that's the best way to approach it. But if you just buy commodity barrels, then you're gonna have more volatility, and you're gonna swing with those commodity prices. Ultimately, what you buy it at today, which would be a much more aggressive price, I think, to the downside, because folks speculators trying to get out, you still need a delta. And we're still, there's a lot of whiskey out there, but everyone stopped making it. Don't forget that, including us. We've cut our production down materially because we have enough inventory on our sales profile right now. So, but when we're nothing in the terms of the scheme of what like Beam and Brown-Forman and Heaven Hill have all done as far as cutbacks in their production. So these things, there's a market now when you look and be myopic. And then there's, like we said earlier, there's
Yeah.
propane barrels, and then there's something differentiated
Yeah.
with
And
high
I think,
quality.
that's always been like our kind of ethos at Barrel Global, right? Because like looking at the kind of like what influences the price of a barrel is, sure, I do think, very honestly, I'll say it, that I think a lot of those massive contract distillers that came online in Kentucky last year will have a hard time. There's just too many of them. They're making like 1 million barrels of like very similar mash bills, similar, but they don't have their own products. So I truly believe a lot of them, the lights won't stay on for very long unless they do something very different. But I think the whole approach that I always look at is always threefold. It's kind of like you grow, like your barrel will grow in value as it ages. It will grow as the whiskey market develops, and it will grow as that brand grows. So, as Laws grows and the barrel matures and the whiskey industry remains firm, your investment or your collectible or whatever you want to call it is going up threefold, as opposed to buying something that's nameless, no brand behind it. There's no people really pushing that brand. So I think, some people will struggle, a lot of the kind of lower end stuff will, but I think the kind of small producers, high end, super high quality barrels will continue to grow, continue to mature, and the brands will continue to do cool stuff, because those are the only kind of people we try to work with, like you guys. But yeah, I mean, I guess a question would be, we've touched a little bit about like on the war and how that would, obviously, if that ended, how that would shift bourbon sales and stuff. Is there any kind of trends or kind of aspects of the industry that you think will kind of maybe lead to more bourbon growth, or vice versa?
Well, there's an economic thing here, right? Like there's inflation, there's, definitely people can look at employment numbers and economic growth numbers and be, oh, well, the economy's still growing. Well, we live in a state of 6 million people, and it is not. There's been no jobs created here that wasn't related to the government in almost 2 years. So those numbers don't tell you much. Again, I should tell you this. I'm a trained economist, master's degree in financial economics. So I worked at Wall Street. These numbers don't mean anything anymore. So there is an impact to folks in terms of their pocketbook as of inflation, and just economic impacts. So they can't go out to dinner and go on a vacation and buy their premium whiskey right now. I think that's going to change. We're going to get through this thing because we've already gone through 2 years ago. And you're all reading articles about gluts and super high inventory levels, how the boom is over. Yeah, this is all great, okay? Because I'll tell you, from someone who worked on Wall Street, once everyone's writing about it and it's in the public, it's already happened. So we're looking for what's going to be the inflection, and the inflection is going to be not as aggressive growth. But I do think, like what George is saying, is a lot of brands with no Provence are not just going to be there. So you got to know where it comes from. You got to know the people that make it, and you want it differentiated. And we are a growing company. We're not huge, but we punch above our weight, so to speak. And what you're saying is like a stool. It has 3 legs on it. It's not, you're not just buying a commodity barrel. You don't know where it came from. And I'll tell you this, the guy, my Yoda, who was 40 years in Kentucky, master distiller at Barton's, he used to be called Old Tom. He told me early on, it's like the stuff that comes off those column stills, and everyone's making those things, big column stills, and they make great whiskey. But all that stuff that comes off is graded. So, fair, good, very good. And they know what that is. Ours is all very good because we're making it of pot stills in very small batches, and we know if something drifted. So, but like so you don't know what you're getting in that. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of barrels that made a day. And yeah, it's a 3-grain wheated bourbon. But if you don't know what it tastes like, and you don't have a brand that you can kind of hang your hat on to say, oh, this is what it is.
Yeah.
To me, that's not I wouldn't do that. But
yeah, a good example I think I have of this in a personal level is that I come from like a Scotch cask background. Like I was in Asia selling like Macallan casks and all the kind of blue chip ones. And back then, like 3, 4, 5 years ago, they were selling Macallan casks for like insane prices, like prices that were not, like people were adding like 300% margin, just adding, selling to Asia like there's no tomorrow. And obviously that was going to come back, you know, that was going to crash. Like when you sell a barrel that's like worth 100 grand and you sell it for 300 grand, like you're not going to come back in a few years and be like, hey, can you help me sell this? And what's happening now is that now those aren't selling, but the stuff that is selling is the stuff that kind of the small brands that were growing steadily. The cask selling was happening at like a normal level of like margins for the brokers, and it wasn't going through a list of like 10 different people. Sorry, give me 1 second. Sorry.
Gotta let the dogs out.
I'm very sorry about that. I know my dog was going to go mental.
I knew it. I called it.
Yeah, I know my dog was just going to start howling like crazy, so I just sprinted for it. But anyway, yeah, so that's a very good example of what I think we're doing now. Like I'm seeing all these like inflated prices, all these mass producers and everything. But I think I love what we do at Barrel Global, because one day the market's going to get to a point where people will be like, I want some amazing Colorado whiskey, or I want some amazing from this producer that's done this stuff that I want to bottle. That's amazing. And I think that's kind of where we're leading, because I saw that happen in Scotch. And now the stuff that sells in Scotch, it's not that it doesn't sell. It's that it's stuck to the stuff that's really high value, really high quality, brands that focus on what they're doing and not the crazy inflated stuff that people ran in and bought super quick, which I think is a good example of how it's going to go.
And like if you think about buying whiskey barrels is a luxury thing. So as an asset class, it's a luxury asset class. So yeah, why would you buy commodity in a luxury asset class? Yeah, I think it's like better if you should have some commodity in there, but that's when we get to like portfolio and how you build a portfolio of not just age profiles, but like mix of different mash bills and stuff that's harder to get. If you can't get it because it's only producing 1,000 barrels a year, and it's going to have higher value as the the market catches on to it. And we've seen this over, we've 14 years, we're in our 11th year of actually selling stuff, and we've gone from nothing to pretty substantial for a little company that's based in Colorado for sure. And again, the juice that's in it, we wouldn't take a knee to anybody out of Kentucky or any other parts of the U.S. on the quality of our American whiskey.
Yeah. And yeah, it just comes back to like, I know this point's about aging, but I mean, when we started out Barrel Global, we were like trying to get some people to work with us because we had a very new business model that a lot of people don't understand. I remember going on calls and people being like, why the hell would I sell you barrels? Like, I'm fine. And we'd be like, no, like this is, but I think that's what I'm really happy about and why this news cycle doesn't really bother me, because seeing you guys, and it's great because also you kind of feel like your brand isn't like other people's brand is kind of your brand. Like I see you guys doing cool stuff and I'm like, hell yeah, it's great. Like look at Laws working with the Buffaloes and all of it. It's kind of like, it's a nice relationship that you create with distilleries. Like I love the relationship because it's like, you're really, really rooting for each other. Like you're obviously like, hell yeah, Barrel Global's doing well, sell more barrels, do more cool stuff. And I see you guys, I'm like, hell yeah, look at Laws. It's a nice, I think it's a really nice kind of partnership, and it's that's why we're so selective with the people that we work with, because now we're at a point where people reach out to us. They're always trying to sell us barrels, broker barrels, contract distillers, but we just don't do it. We're like, no, unless we can have a really, really, really believe in your distillery, really love what you're doing. Then it's just a no, because again, I can't go out now and buy 1,000 barrels of nameless white label Kentucky bourbon that no one's heard of, and I don't, but I'll work with you guys. We'll work with like some cool distillery in Austin. It's a fun relationship, and I'm glad we were that selective. Now that this is happening, I'm glad we focused this way. Like it was a good move.
I think the idea in the portfolio is you can have a base of whatever, but you need to be boutique, and that's what you want to have. You want to have like something that's, again, very high quality, that speaks to who you are as a person. Like I'm not just buying, I don't even know who made it, 3 grain bourbon. You know where this comes from, and all about, we only use heirloom variety grains. We're all about flavor. We're And we make it. We control this. We know our farmers. We know who grows our grains, and we make them in small batches. And this is a lot of control over everything. And we think that's an important part of playing the game in barrel investment.
Yeah. I guess what is I guess when we're looking at laws, let's take the 4 grain, for example, what's the ideal age you recommend people like age their barrels without, I mean, obviously we're aging a lot of our stuff with you in Colorado.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah, where it's meant to be aged. But what do you say like the ideal age is before like the angel share gets too much?
Well, angels, they're always a problem, but here we're really dry, so we lose more water than alcohol, and alcohol is what carries the flavors. We're already using heirloom variety grains, and then we're against the mountains here with barometric pressure swings that are massively aggressive and volatile, which means that the respiration of the barrel, because they all breathe, it's heavily restricted, and it can't adjust to the barometric pressure swing. So we get a lot out of the barrel early, which means that as it matures, it goes great. So our stuff is like a minimum of like 4 years, and I know sometimes you'll see the bottle and it says minimum 3. It's all over 4. We just had enough labels. We just didn't change the label. And up to like 9 is really where the sweet spot is for us. We do have 10 and 12-year-old stuff. It's not my favorite in terms of we need to be more cognizant of where we put it in the warehouse. But up to 9, we're getting great development. And, we lose 5% in the first year and then kind of 2% along. So once that barrel gets to 8 to 10 years, instead of like 250 bottles to come out of it, it's like 165 probably.
That's not bad. I mean, compared to like Kentucky and
that's a 127 proof kind of thing too. So it's, not a lot of people like it at cast strength. Some people want to cut it into closer to like a bonded, like 100. I think it's best when you do that, but I understand those that like it, unmodified or purest form. But that's here, and I think if you go across like Kentucky, Tennessee, it's going to be like 6 to 9 is what most bourbon is. It's on the market. That's the sweet spot for bourbon. Again, new barrels, new charred barrels, you're going to get a lot more out of than used barrels. Here at 4, we're getting a lot out of the barrel. So, and what we're trying for is we want you to taste the fruitiness and the grain quality of what we make it of, because our substrate is 2 to 3 times what commodity prices are. So we want you to experience that. So we're not about the heavy wood. We want that to accentuate the grain profile of our spirit, not to overwhelm it. And I think once you get above 10, you start to see that, whether here or in Kentucky, but that's a preference. I'm not preaching to people. I'm just saying that's a preference from my point of view.
Yeah, man. God, I need to get up there. It's like you're like one of the only people like that we work with that we love that we haven't I need to get up to Denver and do something fun, for sure. But okay, I guess we'll closing off before we get to the questions. I guess maybe just from your expert view, what do you kind of see happening? Like we've got, as you said, the last few years have been as they are. A lot of new players, lots of new distilleries, lots of new contract distillers, but still tons of good people within there. And we've kind of discussed that they're going to melt away and the good ones will stay. But what do you see happening in the next, say, 5 to 10 years in the bourbon industry?
Well, I think let's talk it from a higher level at spirits. So there are clearly other ways to get spirits exposure, right? In a portfolio, financial portfolio. That's what we're really talking about here today. So publicly traded spirits companies have been clobbered, right? And so there's that. There's ways you can look at the market that way. But those things aren't necessarily specific. They're not a pure play, and there's nothing new about that. And they were supposed to be low beta investments, and they turned out not to be in this last COVID correction. But I think portfolio of ages of, again, quality products, unique products are really what is going to drive this, right? Like you can go get Jack Daniels anywhere, and you can be Jim Beam anywhere, and you can see the whole portfolio. And again, great portfolios. Like I'm not this and those things. I drink them all the time. I go Forester all the time. And but those, they're out there. But all the limited stuff out of them is just another variety of that. They're not really that differentiated. So I think, unique barrels in the portfolio could be better than straight commodity for sure. I do think that, like, this isn't fun. It's not easy, this kind of down thing. But our sail on these headwinds is much smaller than big companies. It's tough for us. I'm not going to say that we're just glad to do this, because we're not. But we see that, people are still going to look for premium things with character that they associate the brand with. And we're a new world 21st century brand. Mm-hmm. And we want to be, I don't know if we want to be as big as Jack Daniels in 100 years, but we'd like to be around. And again, we started on a 20-year journey, and that's what I think, we still got 6 more years to prove out that. But having the right barrels, in one's mix kind of allows for, I think, pretty interesting investment monetization, reinvestment. Respect to like inventory levels and all the stuff you're going to read. Yeah, there's a lot of whiskey out there now, but there's not a lot of our whiskey or some of the other brands that are in Barrel Global's portfolio. And I know some of those folks, and they make great whiskey. Mm-hmm. And remember this, everyone has massively cut back their production over not in the last 3 months, over the last 2 years. So markets normalize. Again, Wall Street information right there. My Wall Street days, the current negative headlines, and again, the cohort of speculators and kind of frantically leaving the business, there's definitely opportunity right now.
Yeah. And if people have cut back production and you own a barrel, boom, you've done it right.
They become worth more. It's there's not as much out there. Our time on the whiskey market, right? We sold to a lot of barrels, like probably 100 a year, to like private individuals or liquor stores and restaurants. And then we sold larger quantities to like other smaller players like ourselves, or even to big brands that they need something that was differentiated to blend into their products. We sold all that. Our heirloom grain mash bills were 100% pot distilled. I can go on and on about that versus column still. It makes a difference. But, the emergence of what you're doing, George, has allowed us to access other folks that want to participate in our journey and in an investment way, which, from my point of view, my CFO's point of view, my wife's point of view, all accounting, investment bankers, equity research people, this is we like this.
Yeah.
That's a small producer's point of view. Appreciate you listening to that, but not really an advertisement. But
I mean, I've always, as I said, I've always been. Don't get me wrong. People buy barrels from us, and they expect returns, and it's going to happen, and it's going to go up. But I've always been very for just the experience of it all. Just working with super cool distilleries that people can come visit you, and you're not going to be like, "What? We sold you like 1 million barrels, and they're stacked in a corner that no one's ever going to see." We just hired a super new cool guy in Kentucky. He's called Murray. Like, he's ex like Castle and Key tour guy. Like E.H. Taylor's descendant. The kid's awesome, and he's making all these like cool dinners, tours, experiences. That's what it's. I think that's what it's all about. Like, it's great owning a barrel. It will go a barrel or 10 or whatever. It will go up in value. But it's also like having fun during it, not making false promises, and just working with really fun distillers and making it like an experience of a life. Because, I mean, sure, you buy it today and you'll sell it in 4 years, but you want to enjoy those 4 years, right? You want to go try your cask. You want to get behind a brand you like, buy a bottle of Laws because you want a cask and buy it. It's or else you would have just bought some stocks and sat on them, or bought like some property and just left it. It's like, I don't know, the whole experiential side alongside making some money is just what we're all about. And it's fun, and I like it. I have fun with it. And I don't want to have a company, whether it's making me money or not, that I don't enjoy having. It's like, money's great. Don't get me wrong. I know we're all on this call, and my sales guys will shoot me down if I say anything, but no, it's about, I want to have fun with my company. I want the people we sell to have fun. I want to work with great producers. And I think that will come through. That always comes through financially when you actually focus on quality over quantity. amazing brands, people, that are kind of rooting for each other and helping each other along like we do. That's what comes through financially at the end of the day. It's funny, it's a funny circle that you just.
Well, our trademark mantra, right? There are no shortcuts.
Yeah.
And then there's also, craft over commodity, quality over quantity, and whiskey above all.
Exactly.
Those are our mantras.
I wish we could hang up this call right on that, but like we've got a bunch of questions. But that was a cool mic drop moment. Awesome. Well, great. Well, I think. Oh no, shoot! I missed a slide. Well, yeah. I mean, we discussed this. I think it's just I guess the best time to enter something isn't like when everybody's in it, when tons of everybody's kind of jacked prices up high and everything's going like that. The time to get in something is when, there is that part of the kind of dispersing the brands that really will stick it through and the ones that are going to siphon off is the best time to enter a market, because that's when you see it restructured and keep growing, I suppose, is what we went over.
Yeah. No, like again, when everyone is shocked by this was supposedly a slam dunk arb, it's not, and they didn't have the skin in it that said, hey, this is a long-term game, right? Like I said earlier, when we started the company, we thought we started a 20-year journey, and knowing that it just takes so long. But if you're playing, flip stuff in 2 years, it's just probably, although from new make to two it goes up pretty decently. But I think starting at that, adding some kind of 2-year, 4-year, if you have a project that you're working on, you need this particular age, that's a little different. But starting a portfolio of that and letting it go, then you can choose. And if you're an active investor and you want, this is a pretty active environment, so you could watch stuff change and go, hey, these kind of things are going this way, and you can harvest that and repurchase into something that wasn't doing that. But these things are waves, right? Even when the whiskey matures, it doesn't do this. It goes through waves, like especially summers. We have heated warehouses, so it doesn't affect us as much because our barrels are always maturing. They're always interacting. But the summer, they do more, right? So heat is catalyst and all these reactions. So, but they go through waves. Like in our rye, especially, like 5-year rye, 6, awesome. 4, awesome. 2 evens up. 5, nah, I don't think that's what I want to put in the bottle. So there's these things that are technical around actually physically producing it in that. And so having portfolio in this is good. And then today, when everyone's just their hair's on fire and they're, oh my God, and I just want to get out of this, and you can buy 2, 4-year-old bourbon. Remember, that's today. You're not selling it for years.
Yeah.
The world's going to change.
Yeah. Our team always says it's like the best time to buy was like 5 years ago, and the second best time is now.
Right now. Yeah. I'd agree.
That's always our thing. No. Awesome, man. Yeah.
Thank you so much. What are some other questions?
Fantastic. Let's rock into this. Thank you. Stop sharing so people can see us closer, see our lovely faces. Oh, wow. I just saw you up close. You're so pretty. Right. Okay. I'm going to delve into these questions. There's a lot of them. There's one gigantic one at the end that we're going to have to tag team because it's like, it's okay. So delving in. Sorry, I don't have names because they've sent me a list of the questions, but I'm just going to ask them and go. Strength of resale market and recommendations to hold 4, 6, or 8 years, and why? Pros and cons of 4, 6, and 8 years. I mean, I can kind of touch on that. I think Alan already did. It is very much to do with the distillery and kind of like just tasting your whiskey, getting your samples, which are included. If you buy a barrel, you get your annual sample, and deciding when the best time is for you if you're bottling it. Now, if you want to resell it, again, there's a very wide spectrum from the way the market's going, as you mentioned, Alan. I think more premium niche, like more aged products, I think, will be more the norm. I think the kind of, as you said, the Jim Beams of the world, the Jack Daniels of the world will always be there, but I think the market's going to shift into a more like ultra premium pocket where people are just, brands are really putting quality first. So I'd say that the kind of 4, 6 and more is a good location. I wouldn't really do 2, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think strength of the resale market, I mean, we can talk on that. At Barrel Global, we're very close to launching our own marketplace, which is something that we haven't talked about, but is coming soon. And again, I think for aged barrels of the kind of partners that we work with, like Laws, like you guys sell barrels, but it's not like you will find 100,000 barrels of Laws.
No, you won't.
No. So
well,
it's like,
George, you've seen our list. Our list only has like 400 barrels that we would be willing to sell right now. That's it.
yeah, exactly.
That'll change within the next 3 or 4 weeks too. And we don't have a lot, but I agree with you on the 6, 8 is probably sweet spot if you're buying right now.
Yeah.
But also you gotta, again, building a portfolio, look at some new make. And then you have all this time to let these waves and volatility. I don't even like the term volatility in this. I think the volatility will come out of it. It'll be more systematic.
Yeah.
So, having younger stuff, if your timeline's long enough, you're going to get a lot of awesome opportunities. And buying it brand new, new make is very cheap relative to time it hits 2-3 years. It's pretty much gone up a lot already.
No, definitely. And again, luckily we're not Scotch. We don't need to wait like 15 years. So we should all be happy. But yeah, I mean, again, but I think, the market will move into like super, super cheap, I think. And then like premium and ultra premium. I think like people will be going through really cool, collectible, fun stuff, or the stuff that you're just like, super cheap that you're drinking like on. I think that's kind of like, and a lot of the middle stuff will kind of melt away, in my opinion. But so 6 to 8 is a really good time, I think, now with the way the market's going.
But you can probably pick up 4 at what you would have paid for 2-year-old 2 years ago. Right?
Yeah, that's also true.
And remember, everyone thinks, oh, well, the price is this, but it used to be this. And it doesn't matter what the price used to be. It's what you bought it at and what you monetize it at. It's the delta that matters.
I'm having my 3rd dram, so we better wrap up these questions quickly, or else I'm gonna be like, picking my dog up and showing him to everybody. I totally would do that. Anyway, so how do I go about having a barrel bottled? So we have a great bottling department. We've got Murray that I mentioned oversees all our bottlings. If you have a cask of Laws, they can oversee the bottling, the bottle shapes, all that. We tend to work with our distilleries that can do it in different states. In Kentucky, we have a central bottling location. But that's just an email away. Super easy to work with.
George, I owe you that. I have it in a spreadsheet. We were just chasing down a few things. We would probably specify on our bottle or 2 other different bottles, like stock bottles, and then we can give you a better. I have it all gridded out. So even Peyton has looked at it, our CFO has looked at it and blessed it. So it's good.
Oh, then that's how you know it's good to go. Yeah, I mean, you guys can offer a few bottle types. If you want packaging more complicated, we obviously deal with that, but that's just a conversation. Anyway, happy so far, but would like to see the ability of buyers, members to sell and buy previous barrels through you as an option of service. So as I mentioned on that, we are launching the marketplace where all of our clients will be able to list their barrels on the marketplace, and we will open that up to retailers, brands, people that want to come in and see that. We're very excited about that. It's launching in a month or 2, and we're going to be like state of the art, the same way, the back end and the portal is very state of the art. The platform will be similar. And beyond that, if you do want to sell your barrel, reach out to your, the client manager that you have, whether it's Charles or Murray or Juan, offer to start talking about selling your barrel if it's at the right point and the right price. We discuss that, and that's how you kind of work on reselling your barrels. What is the growth potential and returns for whiskey barrels in the next 4-8 years? Well, I think we kind of touched on that. already. You know,
That's
yeah, we
great.
did. I'd say, you know, I mean, you know, prices that we sell. You know, we personally sell like 4-year-old barrels for like around $5.5, $6 grand, and then you go up from there. But yeah, I think we touched on that already. If I haven't touched on something, email us. I don't want
And
to.
George, there's always, you know, that classic investment term is like, no matter when you bought it, your dollar cost averaging in, you're gonna figure out what your, you know, what your base cost is. And again, you have options. No one's going to tell you that, hey, you close out this option at 2 years. Like, it's not. It's an open option. So
Yeah.
you can wait for the market to come to you, or you can, you know, you play to the older stuff. You lose some volume, but you know, the you know, price to age is not linear. And
Yeah.
in each age class, there's definitely a supply and demand thing that changes quite a bit. So I think your marketplace would be really great.
Yeah. And honestly, I want to just touch in here for everybody because I feel this is going to come up a lot on Barrel Global and my goal for this year as a founder. So my goal this year as a founder is to, well, we have a lot already, is to very heavily expand on our exit strategies for clients that bought barrels like a year or two ago. So that's very much my focus of the year. We're doing the marketplace. We're starting our own single cask, single barrel bottlings that will expand. We're talking about personalized label bottlings. We are speaking to tons of importers and distributors in countries abroad that I used to live in, and I do work with: Asia, Philippines, Japan, a lot of European markets. I mentioned the marketplace, and we have just hired a new member that is specifically tasked with going out and finding businesses, corporate gifts, private bottlings. We are investing a lot in expanding the bottling department. So like running a lot of ads, a lot of advertising for people that want to do more bottlings so that we can, you know, funnel casks that clients bought that are now of age and can, you know, resell them. So we are working on a lot of exit strategies. We already have a lot in place, and we're working on a lot. So I just want to tap into that in case there's a lot of questions like that. That is a heavy goal of 2025 to expand and continue to expand on all our exit strategies for our clients that bought, say, 2-3 years ago and are on like getting ready to want to resell. Side note. Right. Is there too much production right now given the slowing growth of the bourbon market?
No.
Yeah.
I think that's been adjusted. It's been dramatically. Even a year ago, some of the big ones who were running 24/7 went to 24/5 and then 12/5, and no, they're not building rick houses every other month anymore. So they've made adjustments, right? Because I'll give you the inside thing on a distillery, a whiskey distillery in particular, is that, you know, what's sitting in our rick house is accounts receivable technically, but it's also working capital that is very expensive if you don't have, you know, if the sales say, oh, there's a dog.
He came in on his own. This wasn't me.
Right.
You did
So,
it on your own.
so you've seen even the Brown Forman stuff today to close the cooperage.
Yeah.
So like all these things that they've made massive adjustments. And yeah, is there a lot of whiskey? Is there sloshing around a bit? Yeah. But again, it takes very few events like Chinese economy turned. That's a big market. India has been good. If the Russian-Ukrainian war, like we talked about earlier, if it ended, it would, you know, all these things have impact. I'm being very optimistic because I work in whiskey. I'm ultimately optimistic. So it's optimism in a glass. So yeah, there's a lot of things that can occur that will correct those things, and we're not drinking it. Everyone gets afraid of Ozempic or dry January or all this kind of like trendy stuff. Dude, I'm doing my part. I'll tell you that. And you know, and there's more people entering it all the time. We have them come through our brand new Whiskey Sanctuary tasting room brand experience. We just opened it 1 month ago, and people are new to it. They want to learn, and there's still lots and lots of those folks. This is not but I mean, just flattening after aggressive growth, and we'll find the trend line again, and the trend line will be up and to the right. Maybe not.
And it's all going on,
but
and it's all going in the same trend. It's like people are drinking less but better. Like
Yeah.
I mean, they're not like the days I was in university, I was drinking I had like my bottle of like 50p cider in the UK. Like it was just like you could probably burn paint off a wall. And it's, it's all going in the trend that we want it to, that people are drinking better. They'll buy a bottle of Laws for a bit more money than they will buy a super cheap, nameless bottle of bourbon. And that's ultimately, it's just, we just urge everybody not to freak out. It's a long game. And,
absolutely a long game. I like that line right there. Again, when everyone's freaking out, oh my God, way more opportunity than normal.
Yeah, exactly. Right, I'm gonna keep going because there's a million of these. Current barrel market trends in the next 3-5 years. I think we covered that, so I'm just going to jump over. The age of a barrel. Do I have to set up the delivery, the average price? Can we set up my own drop-off location? I'd get in touch with our team to go through all those questions. Yes, you can. We do facilitate pass-through distribution in different states, so that's fine. But I'd get in touch and we'll give you all the details. Annual sample process. If you buy a barrel, you get an annual sample included in the price that we give you, and you just request that every year when you want it. What do you see as the biggest challenge in 2025 and beyond for market, barrel investors, changes in whiskey buying habits, barrel? I think we very much covered that in detail. If we haven't, reach out. I think we did. Do you have subcontractors? No. I mean, no.
We don't.
No, we don't either. What is the reason that distillers don't age their barrel by themselves? Distillers do age their barrel by them. Can people not join?
We have aged them all by ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
there's always you could always, like I said, that we don't have a ton. We have 6,000 barrels, and there's about 400 that we would sell, not because they're different quality. They're just like we on our harvest curve are like, well, these are technically excess that we would put out there. And I'm going to be completely frank. It's like, to some degree, this is a marketing function for us.
Yeah.
So, don't think we want you engaged in this, and we want you to talk about your Laws barrel that you have, and this is so. There's some selfish reasons why we want to do this too.
I mean, I think a lot of the reasons are selfish. I don't think we're making the world a better place. That's all we're doing. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just a good mix of, honestly, the reason we exist as Barrel Global is you go to a really cool distillery, we have a reach, so that they have a reach, but obviously as a small distillery like Laws, that you probably will understand, you've got a small team and everybody has a million things to do, so they don't necessarily have the time or the people to reach out to people in Japan and reach out to, so I think it's marketing and visibility. It's a bit of cash, maybe not you guys when we came to you, but some new distilleries were like, why not have some extra cash flow? And I mean, I think it's an interesting business model. I think it didn't fit, people didn't know where to fit it, but once it makes sense in your head and it clicks, it's all right, this makes sense. And for us, it's we're working with a super cool distillery that people trust. People can call up Laws and Allen and be like, do you want a Barrel Global? Yes. And it's just, it's kind of like a quid pro quo, we get visibility, you get visibility, everybody's making a bit of money, the clients are happy. But I think Laws definitely has their own barrels that they distill and bottle, and it's good stuff.
Yeah, most of them. We have 6,000 barrels right now. That's how little we are. But that's a lot in the scheme of at wholesale for us. That's a really large number.
Are you doing a honey cask this year?
What's that?
You doing a honey cask?
Oh, absolutely. We do about 4 a year.
Oh man.
So the problem is that the honey people can't keep up with that. So it's just on the honey thing, you're tasting pure Colorado wildflowers. That's a cool, and we're not adding compound to this. This is not neutral spirit whiskey and some flavor. This is 100% 4-grain bourbon with a barrel that had pure honey in it. And you think, oh, hey, it'll taste a little. No, it tastes so sweet that we're almost should we titrate in more bourbon because it's so sweet. It's like so cloyingly sweet. And
Like I feel it was balanced. Like it's sweet, but it's not over because I don't like super sweet stuff. Like it wasn't overwhelmingly sweet. I think the bourbon and the rye and the grain still came through because if it was too sweet, honestly, I can't do super.
dude,
Like
it's a great product for us. And yeah, we only do a little bit of a year, and it sells out in like 6 weeks. It's gone. And
shut up.
we only do it in the fall because that's a cool time to do it. But yeah. But we make all kinds of cool stuff like that. So
I know, man. I know. Try do like an agave, like a agave syrup one. Like maybe do it like an agave.
We make agave spirit for our tasting room.
All right.
6 to 8 year old amber agave syrup, and it crushes it. It's right in the fairway. It makes an amazing margarita, Paloma. But it's just where you can sell it to distillers. We don't distribute it.
Yeah.
But we perfected it, but it isn't really who we are. Whiskey is who we are. And now our aged agave is like 5 years in the barrel. It'll mess you up. So.
All right, cool. Damn, we're on like going on an hour. Sorry, everybody. Let me get through these. It's the 3 bourbons. Right. Would love to know cost, what's involved. I don't know what that means. So maybe reach out to your, your client manager and they'll kind of talk about it. Would love to know more about investment opportunities, buying multiple barrels year one and selling them later. I think we touched on that, but again, please get in touch, book a call, and you'll get exactly what you need to know. Profit on a barrel, don't know what that means. I think we went through it. At the end of 4 years of aging, what will the market look like? What is the exit strategy for selling? Okay, I think I've very much touched on the exit strategies. In 10-ish years, going to be wildly better than 4-ish years for the end product. We've touched on that. Yeah. Sorry?
Could be.
I mean, yeah, just need to stay on top of it. Obviously, value-wise, it'll be more expensive, but it just depends if it gets better or where you are. Like if you're buying Colorado where the Angel share is a bit slower and colder, it's better. If you're in Florida, I don't think there'll be anything left in your barrel. I think we spoke to, the St. Augustine guys, right?
Yeah, I know Phil Roth.
Yeah. So we tried to buy some barrels from them and they were like, in like 5 years, it's like half empty. I was like, Jesus, this is gonna be
interesting though, because it's like another thing, like our Front Range and mountain and barometric pressure swings and their heat, and Texas has the same thing. Like they have a very distinctive environment that makes the whiskey taste different. Like there's a very distinctive taste of Texas whiskey, I think. And to Florida, like St. Augustine makes great stuff.
I tried
more of like a rum place, right? Like that's where you want to make rum maybe than you want your malts getting too much humidity.
Yeah.
But there's a distinctive taste. Like, okay, I'll give you this too. I don't know if I probably told you this before, but the American whiskey scene, American whiskey is going to be like Scotland over the next decade or so. So Speyside, Orkney, right? Like Lowlands, Highlands, all those things. When someone says that's what it is in a Scotch, it says something about how it's made, like it's mash bill and how it tastes. Is it malty? Is it smoky? Is it a mixture of those things? Is it Campbelltown? Like, oh my God, my favorite Scotch is Springbank. So, but those are like, so all those things matter. So, but that's going to be America. Like, we're not going to take away the heart of this from Kentucky and Tennessee. This is where it started. And we're using those same techniques. This is the right technique for American whiskey. We're not trying to change that. We love that. But we don't want to make that. They already make it. So, Rockies, upstate New York, Minnesota, Texas, like these places are all going to have distinctive whiskey flavors that come from the terroir where they're made.
Yeah.
This matters. This is why the portfolio of these kind of things is way cooler than just commodity bourbon in the barrel.
Yeah. No, 100%. I love what's happening. I love that the single malt just got its designation, all the categories, like the different states. That's why I'm always on the hunt of like new cool states that we can enter, distilleries we can work with. It's super fun. Again, that's the way to look at the bourbon industry and the U.S. market, the U.S. American whiskey industry. That it's growing. The terroir is being defined. Every state's doing their own thing. It's not that, you know, Russia isn't buying a ton of Jim Beam, so the market's gonna, you know, it's like it's you know, it's more looking at it like how the kind of category is developing, and it will become one day like Scotch, where you have your regions and your flavors and what people love and what people visit and what people, you know, and it becomes a whole bigger thing than anybody ever thought it could be.
Play the game in the boutique.
Yeah,
it's more interesting. It's more fun, and in the end of the day, you decide you don't want to sell it, you can drink it, which is, oh my God. Right.
And not the worst way to go. Right. What to look for to make sure you aren't getting ripped off? Well, I think you should work with awesome people like us. No, I'm joking. It's like, I think do your research, just do your research. Like, it's like, I mean, you can do anything online, you can do anything on Google. I'm not going to tell you to buy from me. I mean, I will, but like, there's like a lot of great people, a lot of great companies out there. Just do your research, make sure you know who you're buying from, do the pricing research. It's just a lot of research. It's like people will tell you everybody's trying to sell, everybody's trying to hustle. So you need to just look into it, see what company has the best team, I'd say people with a reputation in the whiskey industry, because there's a lot of investment companies that come in, sell a bunch, and then disappear, and you never knew who they were. So people who actually, you know, are in it to stay, are building, have a reputation, whether that's a founder or a team member or a director. And yeah, research, ask around, and just don't rush into anything. Is my
I would
opinion.
add to that, you know, fact check. Like, you can get a hold of us. George tells you this. We send George pictures. He says, hey, I want pictures of the barrels. Here's the ones we bought. We send him pictures. Here they are.
Amen.
And you know, they exist. These aren't something on a spreadsheet. They exist.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you know, and then if you're in Denver, give us enough notice, you can go see them.
There you go.
You can taste. You do whatever you want. They're your barrels.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I think that's how you know. And just price check. Just make sure you're not like, see some of those stories in Scotch of what people got ripped off by. You see some of those, like that little old guy who bought a cask, and it was like, he sold it for like 60 grand, and then the broker resold it for like 250 grand. It's just, yeah. And then, but I'm glad that people are writing about that stuff. That's the stuff people need to report on.
We'll sell casks at half of the 250 grand.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
Scotch, right up right now, as many as you want, more than the 400 we have lifted.
Yeah, Scotch is a whole other beast, but I'm glad it's coming to light. Like, this needs to, you know, karma needs to be real, and it needs to be talked about. Right. Discuss the secondary market for barrels and best dates to resell. Done. How will the expansions of numerous top-tier distilleries affect future value of barrels? Buffalo's Trace, 1.2 billion expansion, Four Roses expansion. I think we touched on that. And a lot
I would say, I'd add to this as an economist, is what you're going to see is there was a push for gross capacity expansion, and all that stuff is all modern. So I would say that in the present environment, you give it another year or so, you'll probably see older, less efficient facilities mothball, not taken down, because it's like, again, I'm going back to oil and gas. If you lay down rigs and you're not using them, when the oil price goes back up, you're bringing those things back up. I guarantee you. So, so I think that you're going to see some of that. I'd say those announcements that will fall into this whole, there's a glut, it'll be part of this commentary or narrative of like, oh, look at this. All those things are good. You heard today that Brown-Forman's shutting that cooperage, which made 1,000 some barrels a day. Well, you're like, oh, that's terrible. No, it's great if you make barrels because they're still going to be buying barrels. So all of a sudden the capacity got shrunk. So your capacity utilization went up. That could be pretty decent for independent stave and other places that they're going to have to source their barrels from. So
yeah,
this is the correction, right? I said, everyone goes, oh my God, the negative news. The negative news was from 2 years ago. What you're seeing now are adjustments that will turn into positive news. So all that stuff that you react to right now, because you see that, would be a bad thing to react to, in my opinion. My opinion.
Your opinion's great, Alan. We love your opinion. All right, now we're delving into a gigantic question. This person has done the research. Kudos to you. Right. Bourbon was at an all-time high last year, and secondary values have dropped by 25 to 45% due to economic factors as well as more availability on shelves. A similar scenario occurred with breweries, and last year was the biggest decline in profitability, as well as some major breweries closed that opened. Several of these larger ones were in STL alone. I don't know what that means. The boom happened, market became saturated, and the market declined. What will keep bourbon from doing the same? What does the value of a barrel look like if we see a down market and if the distillery goes out of business?
Ooh, if it goes out of business, it might be worth materially more in the future. Yeah, everyone who follows this everyone knows Stitzel-Weller, right? Like, I used to search for that shit. Like, it's like, oh, this is like realistically, it's like, oh, is it that much better? Like, oh, the BTAC is just Buffalo Trace now. And I remember that from a couple of years ago. I'm like, well, it's still pretty freaking good. But yeah, like all the stuff is, again, we're looking at a point in time, and the business is a continuum, and the business is a long-term business.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I wouldn't compare it to breweries. Like, I mean,
no,
breweries you compare to like vodka or gin or something that's like flying off the stills and going into bottles of meat. So bourbon's a very different product. It's maturing. Your product is gaining value, whether it's sitting there, whether
it's differentiated.
Yeah.
And all these things are, oh, wow. Hey, I can't wait till everyone who wants a bottle of Bland's can get it so I can stop hearing about it. And God bless, great bourbon, but give me a break. Like, the sun doesn't rise and set on this. So let's like have enough supply where people can go, okay, I've had that, been there, done that, and then do what they really want to do is seek out new flavor experiences and new favorites and be ahead of their friends on, hey, have you tried this? And like, let's get back to that. Not like we did a survey last fall, fall 23 we had a law change here in Colorado, and our independent liquor stores got hurt. And we're out talking. I went out there and hadn't been to so many stores in a long time, and there was shit on the shelf. There was so much stuff on the shelf that was $100 a bottle that you had no idea where it came from. There's like this no Provence. Like, what is this? Like, I've never seen this before. Oh, well, it's supposedly this. And I'm like, oh, it's produced by, not distilled by. And they bought it. And then I'm like, this needs to go away. And then go back to things like, hey, it would be great if you could get, at least Rip Van Winkle. And I would love if we could get, Old Forester birthday bourbon every fall where I didn't have to fight somebody and get a teardrop tattoo. Like, it's like not like, let's let that happen. And that's good.
Yeah.
Because then you've had it and you're not like anxious about going to find it or lining up. Like, let's get rid of that. Let's go back to it's available. Let's be an experiential consumer and like have more fun at this rather than being combative.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what like there's everybody, again, we're talking about bourbon and the articles, but that's what people don't understand, that the market, the industry is so new. Like up until a few years ago, you had bottles that you had no idea where they were distilled. Like it just said Indiana, and everybody, you just guess
where it came from.
Like now you've got independent bottlers like Lost Lantern and Hidden Barn Spirits that have started actually doing single cast. This is my brand, but I bought and picked this barrel, and it's an independent bottling that's huge in Scotland. Like Gordon MacPhail, Signature, single malt just got its designation. It's the first time ever all the states in the US are making whiskey, and they're doing stuff super different to like what Kentucky and Tennessee has done. It's a great time. It's growing. It's just, it's with everything. Like you have a massive burst, everything grows, and then it kind of, it molds in, it follows its path, and it just brings in a lot of new and exciting things. And I think that's why I don't think this.
Contraction.
Exactly.
Contraction creates typically higher quality. Well, someone will complain about, oh, well, they're going to cut No, they're not.
Yeah.
Jim Beam is not cutting corners on the smaller amount that they're making now for cost. They're not. There's no way they're going to do that. That's not who they are. Brown Foreman ain't doing that. Heaven Hill, Wild Turkey's not doing that. None of them are doing that. They're just making less.
Yeah.
So that's good. So it's a market.
Yeah.
It finds a level, it corrects. But in the meantime, we don't have to scream into a vacuum. Like, because there isn't everybody who has, or goddamn, sorry, perhaps I'm swearing your pot, but like, everybody who's a grade B star has their own whiskey, or my favorite are the country and western stars that don't even drink and they have our whiskey. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is BS. Don't buy that stuff. Buy from authentic producers, and then come visit us, and we'll give you an experience.
There you go. I need to visit. Christ, that's the. All right. I'm seeing bourbon prices come down, and I'm hearing about the market softening. Please tell me 4 to 5 projection. So we talked about this. As a tattoo artist with no set retirement plan, how can I invest into an American pastime like bourbon to make sure? Yeah, let's pull them out. Give us some free art, and you get about. Don't quote me on that. I'm joking. Depends how big the piece is. But wait, to make sure I can retire as a tattoo artist and don't own his own tattoo shop. All right. Well, I mean, I wouldn't put your whole retirement plan in bourbon barrels. I mean, look, we've talked about it. You can buy a bunch of barrels; they will mature. But I would, have another plan, because obviously it takes time, and the barrels take time to mature. It's not a kind of quick fire thing that you're going to come in, make $1 million, and get out the next day. So I'd say bourbon investment for me is more of a it does grow. It will never stop growing. It keeps maturing. It's kind of like the steadiest of investments, because there's liquid that's literally growing more valuable. No matter, bourbon will never stop. It will never. No one will stop drinking whiskey. We've seen that in the last few hundred years. Prohibition tried that. It didn't work. So, it will keep growing very steadily, and you will make money, and you'll have a ton of fun in the meantime. But I would not ever say that it's like a surefire, put all your money in something. And so
that goes for any investment. Do not mortgage your house and drop everything into. I'll get more technical and geeky on this. It's like portfolios are about managing asset classes and duration, to the extent that it's debt or something like that, or you don't want to be all in anything. The most prudent way to go about this is diversification, but you want to, the market is the market, and then these things are cool investments because they're typically uncorrelated with the market. Mm-hmm. So when I say market, I mean, I know you guys, I don't want to say, I feel so geeky. So market is beta. So if investment is a beta of 1, it moves with the market. If it's less, it should be less volatile. If it's higher, it should be more, definitely higher. But what these investments are for is to add what we call alpha. So, yeah, I shouldn't be telling you. This is so what George says, yeah, you don't want to, this is not a thing you just load into, all in. This is like a part of a portfolio. And then in its part, it should be looked at as a portfolio as well. I often look at these things. I model these. I'm so.
Just do it. Just open up.
Okay, so some of it you could look at it like, okay, I have 1,000 barrels and they're all different ages and they're just like mortgages. And you put them into a mortgage-backed security and they all come due and someone harvests them, and some of them lose more angel share and some have less. Some of them drain out. Maybe we have very few, less than 1% will be like low fills, because by the time we harvest them, they drift slowly out. But you put them all into one thing and assess them individually as this one gets harvested now, and the stream that comes off of them versus the stream that went into them is differentiated, but it's higher. Again, I can show you on a spreadsheet, but yeah. But the answer to that is it should not be your only investment, for sure not.
If anybody wants to see Alan's spreadsheet, you guys email us and you can get in more detail, because he's very self-conscious about his amazing finance and what.
I don't want to be the finance geek in this whole thing. So it's just because that's not how we run the business. We run the business by what goes in the barrel. We care so much about what comes out of the barrel. that the business side of it is hard.
Yeah.
Making it is hard too, but it's the most beautiful, fun thing.
Mate, our clients,
It's the most fun.
Our clients love you. You're great. You're like making amazing whiskey, but can also like financially advise them. That's like exactly what all our Barrel Global clients want. So you're doing just fine. Right. I've got 3 left. We've made it. We've made it. Me, like 5 whiskeys later. I've only been pouring a little bit, FYI. How does one go about purchasing their first barrel or others as time goes on? Go on the Barrel Global website, reach out to us. We also have, good time to mention it, we've got a really nice kind of variety of Laws barrels on offer. So if anybody's like enjoyed all of Alan's amazing financial advice and his awesome whiskey making skills, get in touch with Charles, Juan, one of us, and we'll run you through some of the awesome barrels we have. We've got some of their award-winning 4-grain mash bill in new make and age form. There's some cool stuff that you guys can get your hands on. And then obviously you could visit Denver, go to the distillery and sit down and see Alan's spreadsheet, which is literally what everybody wants to see.
Visit. Yeah, you don't want to see the spreadsheet. You want to go on the Rick House.
Exactly. How does the bottling process and cost involved with it? That very much depends on the dry goods that you want, how kind of extravagant you want to go, but that's obviously an email and a quote that we need to send you. I can't really do that here. And then last one.
It can be expensive if you want it all custom, or it can be relatively affordable. And
yeah, I mean, if you want that one back there with a kind of Dalmore like stag coming out of it, that's going to cost you some money.
Yeah, the crystal decanter, not an option here, I'm afraid. But yeah, like stock bottle, but you can customize the label. That's up to you. You can go as crazy as you want on that. That can be expensive, or use our labels and put a sticker on it.
Are you cool with? Are you okay with like making a change at the bottom of your trademarks, or?
Yeah, if you like, literally, we would say made by Laws Whiskey House in Denver. But like, if you want to have it your own custom label, you want to get paid for that to get designed for your 250 bottles, like, man, that ain't cheap. So, but if that's important to you, you can engrave the bottles for you if you want. Like, all these things are, it's kind of like not the sky's the limit, but pretty close. And your
bottles must cost a lot. Like
our bottles are expensive for sure.
You guys go like,
they're like double. They're double what commodity bottles cost, but they're heavy, they're cool, they're in a canner. There's 400 grams of blob glass in it. Like, it's, when you pick it up,
that's a good bottle. That's a good bottle of whiskey.
You might want, again, all your own thing. And I think we're going to come up with 2. We have 1, and we'll probably add a second one that we can acquire in small volumes. And then, this is it. Here's what it costs.
Nah, I mean, I'm like a very like visual storytelling packaging guy. Like, I've got a comic book whiskey, so I'm very much about the packaging. Like,
see, this is our bottles are very similar to this. Is the Osprey like 2-bottle decanter. So yeah, I get that people want it to look cool. I like cool bottles.
Ours is, we've done ours like the square one too.
Yeah, like, square bottle. That's a Saver bottle.
Yeah, that's the one we've done.
Glass. Those are made in France. Those are really good.
Yeah. Right, Alan, we have had an adventure here. Last question. The bourbon production increased a lot, and the cask in the warehouse reached over 14 million. The wholesale price dropped over 40% since last year. I don't know about these figures. I think
wholesale prices only drop if you drop them. Like, we don't drop our wholesale price. We'll just produce less. Like, our brand deserves that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we touched on that, to be honest.
The wholesale price, or I would say it's not that. It's like the commodity trading price of the individual barrel could absolutely do that. But that's, again, what we talked about. Do you want to say that it's over in the midst of everyone who probably was in it for the wrong reason. That's kind of subjective, but like in it for quick money, and now is the classic Wall Street greed or fear, and fear is taking over, and I just want my money back. They've owned the barrel for 2 years, they just want their money back. To me, that sounds like opportunity. Because again, this isn't bread. It's not going stale in 2 days. This gets better. And if you have the right time horizon, which as we talked about, in 4 to 8 years, I agree with George. Like that's kind of your thing. And then to the extent there's still volatility, but I think we're going through probably the most volatile time in the last 20 years right now. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm just saying. Okay, I'm not an expert. I can't tell you what to do. I'm just saying this is just life and what's happened. Maybe our lives have changed though. I don't really know. So
yeah, I guess
changed so much over the last while. Like maybe we're in a different world.
No barrel buyer came in here and wants to sell in like a month. So I think people are in it, hopefully are in it for the long game. And as we've discussed here in depth, like the American whiskey category is growing, developing, maturing, which is the most important part. And it's leading us into a premium category of where people want something new, something different, taste different things, and are willing to pay a bit more for it. So I think I think it's just, now is when we double down and focus on our brands and grow them, and the people that are hold, and the ones that are going to rush and freak out and sell are probably going to regret it in a few years.
I have friends that play this game and are down 50, 60% and are mad because they can't raise enough money to buy now. And I feel like an infomercial at that. Like don't listen to what I just said. But like it comes down to people that want to be in this for the long term. They're like, this would be great. And it's a dollar cost averaging thing for them because they're already in it. So and I'm not in it like that. I'm in it in a different way. Like what we put in barrels costs us more today than it did 3 years ago because of inflation stuff, but our wholesale price same. So we have to, bank on efficiencies and things like that.
Yeah. Anyway, look, awesome. To all of you, like 30 people who have listened to me and Alan go on for an hour and a half almost. Thank you. Thank you for participating, staying with us. As I mentioned, Laws is one of our awesome distillery partners. If you want to get any barrels, reach out to our team. We have some really cool barrels of Laws, great liquid, as Alan's made clear. If not, we just hope you got something cool today. We hope we've kind of gone about ways to negate some of that silly news that's out there and just showcase that the bourbon industry is not going anywhere. It's a fantastic industry. It's growing. It's maturing.
It's been here in the United States from the beginning of the whole country. It used to be 50% of federal government tax revenue, the taxes on whiskey. It's entwined with the history of the country. It ain't going anywhere.
Exactly. And if you have any other questions about what we do at Barrel Global, we're like an open book. Laws is an open book. We're just here to have some awesome connections, some awesome partnerships, sell some awesome bourbon, have a great time, and also make some money along the way and create like a lasting memory. To be honest, it's just a fun industry to be in. Alan, dude, thank you so much. It's been awesome.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
I will be up in Denver in the next few months. I promise that. And I'm
going
to buy all the honey barrels that I can. Bees are going to hate me. So
we can probably get you your own custom honey barrel if you want.
There we go, man.
We do finishes and all that kind of stuff too. So we can definitely adapt.
The comic book thing would be cool for someone like that. Badass. Anywho, if we've missed any of your questions, missed anything, just reach out. And thanks a lot, guys, and we're glad to have you with us here, and we'll see you out there.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.